So hello everybody again. This is, believe it or not, episode number 19 of Compass Games Live. And today's Thursday, December 6th. We actually had a session last week where we announced two new pre-order announcements. That was Once We Move Like the Wind on the Apache Wars. It's a Steven Newberg design, which will have a mounted map and actually block pieces. And then we also announced a new pre-order, which is Volume 3 of our Red Poppies campaigns. So those two were announced last week. You can find that recording on our YouTube channel. I definitely encourage you to check it out. What we have scheduled for today is going to be more, I think this is more of a compact session. And as we get ready to close out the year, I plan to give you a very quick update on our release schedule as we get ready to close out the year. And then I'm going to be giving you a few project updates. And then, as I promised, Truth in Advertising, we're going to end the session today with a special guest who's going to be appearing at the very end as well. So again, I'm really looking forward to providing you an update and everything. And again, if you're on Facebook, looks like the stream is working. I see John and Terry Moore already online, so it's about a 20-second delay. So if you have any questions on Facebook, I'll be sure to look over to my side here at the monitor for any Facebook questions. For all the attendees we have right now on the web platform, we have about 8-9 people right now already. You'll see a little Q&A button, and there's also a chat button. So you can use that for any questions you have, and especially for our special guest. Once you see who our special guest is, please don't be shy. It'd be great to get 1 or 2 questions from you as we get things rolling tonight. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to start by looking at the schedule. Give you a quick update. So right now my screen should be appearing. This is the home page on the Compass website, and it's going to be a very short update today because again we're just focusing on closing out the year, and we're already in December. So today was our announcement that we are shipping Tinian, the Forgotten Battle. So upper left you'll see our upcoming titles going through February of next year. So Tinian began shipping as of today. And no other changes made to the schedule as far as what our recent releases have been. You can see that on the bottom left, just below the upcoming titles. And then all the titles we have on pre-order, we put those in order from top down, the most recent. And you can see the top two, we have Once We Move Like the Wind, and we have also Red Poppies Campaigns Volume 3. So those are the two pre-order games that we actually discussed last week. But again, Tinian, the Forgotten Battle, that is now a shipping product. I think it's a great way to finish out the year. What's nice about this, I'm sure you know a lot about this series already. It's the Marianas campaign. It's the 3rd game in the series. Actually, overall, it's the 4th game in what we call our company scale system. So a company level. What's nice about this one, it's just one map. So if you're getting ready for the winter holidays, you're looking for a nice small footprint, nice modest footprint for getting into the company scale system, which has Saipan, Guam, and then for the Liberation Series, Western Front, we have Montelimar. So again, this is a great choice. I've talked quite a bit about Tinian already, so I don't want to go much further on that. But again, we're really happy. We think this is a great title to close out the year on, having a nice, not often recreated battle. Actually, hasn't been covered too much as far as published games. As far as Tinian goes. So again, I hope this is something that you've got on your pre-order list because we're starting to ship them now, and we're really excited to get this game in everybody's hands. Also want to let you know just a very small update. So I talked with Ross Mortel several episodes ago, probably about 3 months ago, about his combat game that he's working on, and this is going to be a series, so this is Volume 1. And I just want to let you know we added the what looks to be the official box cover for Combat. So here you can get sort of a better idea of what the box is going to look like. This one has a bunch of maps in it. You can play smaller scenarios, but has a ton of components in it, and it's solitaire friendly, most definitely, for solitaire. So you'll be hearing more and more about Combat as we go, but I just want to give you this very first look for joining here on tonight's live broadcast. We did have this new artwork that I just received yesterday for Combat. So again, please check that out. You'll find the pre-order page here. I was just on it earlier. And just also a tip for our pre-order page, when you select the pre-order page, I definitely recommend that you look at the little options here. You can go by name, and you can actually show all of our pre-orders. And I think going alphabetical is probably the easiest way to go. And obviously combat comes up pretty quickly here, being the letter C. It's about the 6th one down. So again, just a little quick update on the combat box. Just want to share that with you. The next item I want to give you a quick update on, and also a somewhat of a do-over, is we talked last week about Zeppelin Raider, and I walked you through a lot of the final components for Zeppelin Raider. But what happened was I had a little bit of a faux pas, and as I was going through it, I think I got to this point. I was showing you this is similar to Night Fighter Ace, where you can track the status. You are taking the role of the commander or the commandant. You are the commandant of a naval airship during World War I. That is the focus of Zeppelin Raider, obviously. And this is that status display, which is you as the commandant. And again, you can see the various placeholders for the markers. I talked about that last week. I then actually showed you one of the display maps, one of the operations maps, where you can actually track whatever sortie or whatever mission you're on. And these operation maps are quite popular. But unfortunately, what happened last week was I accidentally closed out on the second operations map, so I never had a chance to show it to you, and that's what I want to do now. So we have the operations map here of Europe, which I showed you last week. This is the operations map for Africa. So what's interesting about Zeppelin Raider was, yes, there were some missions carried out extending down into Africa and the Sudan. So just want to give you, again, a first sneak peek at the operations map for Zeppelin Raider. One thing we decided to do also, we decided this week, and it's actually going to push out the schedule a little bit, was we revisited the commanded cards, and basically the concept of a card is you can take on the persona of a historical figure who was a naval airship commandant, and we had 4 of those cards ready to ship in the box. And it was these 4 right here. We had Matthey, von Butler Brandenfels, Buchholz, and Breithaupt. And those were the 4 that we're going to ship in the box. So what we're doing now is we're going to submit now a little bit later than originally planned these cards. Instead of doing 4 cards, there's going to be now double. We're doing 8. We wanted to add more personalities. Not many to come by, honestly, for this. You know, there were like 60 or so airships total, or 70, so there weren't that many pilots to choose from. But Gregory Smith, the designer, did come up with 4 more personalities. So I'm going to show those to you now. So we're going to be introducing, and basically as bonus material, we're adding 4 additional cards. It's Klaus Hirsch is being added, Balker is being added, Peterson, and Kurla. So these are the total now. Now we have 8. And these are optional, by the way. These are optional historical commanded cards. And basically, you can see how their historical abilities translate to abilities during play of the game. So again, I'm happy that we could go ahead and add additional material to the box. It's a very big box now with all that's being included in it. And I definitely would tell you to look at the previous episode that I did last week if you want to see all the other components. I went through the counters, went through all the displays of some of the Zeppelins, etc. We covered a lot of territory, front and back of the box cover, etc. So again, we're really excited about Zeppelin Raider. That's going to push now on the schedule, I'm sure, into February, just because we want to get some additional cards into the game and do the job right. What's also nice, though, with having a little bit more time in the schedule, I've reached out to somebody who's been helping me recently, who's a newer addition to the Compass team to assist us with projects. And Hans Korting joined us and helped us with our Pacific Tide rules, which is a 2-player Gregory Smith game that's going to be one of the first releases in January next year. He did a phenomenal job. He's actually, right now, he's doing proofing of our package for Brotherhood and Unity, which will be coming out next year, later in the year. But I'm actually going to be sending the Zeppelin Raider material to Hans Korting sometime next week, just as a final proofing stage. Always nice to have some fresh eyes on the project, especially the rules. So I'm going to be doing that as well. So this package is really buttoning up tight and coming really well together. So again, that's a little bit of a flash update. And again, I just want to show you that I really like this map of Africa. I wasn't expecting a map of Africa, but But there you go. There's a map of Africa for Zeppelin Raider. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And of course, it's a solitaire game with multiplayer options. So we've talked about combat. I'll give you a quick update on Zeppelin Raider. The next thing I want to do is there's 2 announcements as far as not pre-order announcements. It's a bit premature to do that. These are just these are things happening behind the scenes that are building our project pipeline, looking into the further down into next year. So we had 2 announcements this week that I'd like to make. The first one is we have an author, a game designer who's quite well known from Eurogame focus, Matthias Kramer. And if I click on his name, Matthias's name, as far as design credits here, I just want to show this to you. You can see his design credits here. A lot of the games that he's done already through starting in 2010, and he's done some really some great designs already. So Ulrich Blenneman, who's helping us with our Euro game line, he's been working, and he announced earlier this week that working with Matthias Kramer that we're going to have a new design, and this one we characterize as not really being a Euro game. So for Matthias, this will be something new somewhat for him. This is going to be more 80% political, 20% military, as in traditional war game. So think of this leaning more towards a traditional card-driven game is really what this is more going to be like. Similar to, I'd say, like Europe in Turmoil, sort of that kind of a feel. But coming from that Euro game naming sense, but this is going to be a true political / maybe 20% military game. So I encourage you to check out. I don't have really, this is brand new, just announced, no artwork whatsoever. This is really an early announcement about a project commitment. So again, it's Weimar, the Fight for Democracy. That's going to be coming from us. It's starting based around World War I. You can see 1918. You can get a description of that page over on Board Game Geek. So please check out Weimar, the Fight for Democracy. And I'm sure we're going to do a really nice job. This is going to be one of those games with cards, mounted maps, etc. I'm sure is how this is going to be approached. So very nice production value for this game. So that is one announcement. I have one more announcement to make, and that is, and some of you probably caught this news on the Consum World Forum. So this is, what's interesting about this is, it's great getting feedback from all of you. So whether it's on the social channels, whether it's Twitter feed, whether it's on Twitter, Facebook, Consum World Forum, Board Game Geek, it's great getting your feedback. And I hope you realize, whenever we can accommodate and do certain things for projects, yeah, we're going to try to do them. And if we have certain ideas about what to do with game projects, and they come from you, we're not shy about stealing your ideas or taking your lead on any great ideas you have. And we'll go ahead and run with it. And basically what happened was we had sort of about a 1-month period on Consum World Forum where we were talking a lot about the Designer Signature Edition series, which is something that one of the main types of products or brands of products, if you will, that I focus on at Compass Games. So we've done, for example, the African campaign, which I actually officially sold out about 2 or 3 weeks ago. So that game's is now out of stock. We then did the Red Star White Eagle, the GDW game from David Williams. We did Forgotten Legions, which was actually 2 games in one. It was Bloody Karen and Drive on Damascus from Vance von Boris, and we're actually working with Vance right now on another game that's going to be coming from him that we're really excited about. So the whole concept is the Designer Signature Edition is we work, and there's others. There's Third World War series, of course. There's East Front Tank Leaders, John Hill's game. So there's a lot of titles that I've talked about, but not Panzerkrieg. So Panzerkrieg came up about 10 days ago on the Consum World Forum, and we got right away rapid fire. A lot of people saying, "Oh yes, I'd love to see Panzerkrieg," which is by John Prados. I'd love to see this given the Designer Signature Edition treatment. For those that have the Avalon Hill edition, the hex grid, the hexes were really too small for the half-inch pieces. It was really hard to navigate. Actually, the best one that's been done so far, I think, has really been the 6 Angles Japanese edition. It didn't come with any printed English rules. They were as a PDF, but the artwork done by Masahiro Yamazaki was wonderful. So what I'm basically going to be doing is we just entered into, we now have the intent to publish. We're in the middle of getting the contract ready for signing, but we do have an official agreement with John Prados to do a designer signature edition release of Panzerkrieg. So this will be absolutely larger hexes, so it won't be a problem. But we won't make the hexes too big. We're not going to go crazy and blow up the map too much because there's not too much information on the counters in this case. So at Compass Games, we really don't do half-inch counters at all anymore. It's very rare that we'll ever do half-inch. But for this, we'll do the 9/16 inch, which is pretty much more or less sort of coming more standard for some publishers. So that's what we're going to do for Panzerkrieg. So the map's going to be slightly larger, probably, we're probably talking about a map and a half, end of the day, is how it's going to probably be configured, just to make sure these hexes have enough room to comfortably fit a 9/16 inch counter inside the hex. So it's not going to be it's not going to be like two full maps like Red Star White Eagle was, for example, or even Drive on Damascus and Bloody Karen. Those were quite large hexes because they had 5/8 inch counters. So we won't go quite that large with Panzerkrieg, but this is a true classic game. Tons of comments on Board Game Geek, on the Console World forum. Everybody was really happy to hear that we were able to get moving on this with John Prados. So I'm going to be looking forward to working on this project in the future. So thanks to all you guys for all your help for helping us come up with some great ideas for future titles. So that's everything I really intended to cover for tonight. I want to keep the session relatively short. What's going to happen closer to the end of the year is we're going to do sort of a year in review to talk about all the things that happened from a Compass Games perspective, also what happened online, things we covered, things that happened. I'll be doing that later this month in December. But what I'd like to do now is we're going to start with our special guest. So just give me a moment here while I invite our special guest to join us. So just give me one moment to set this up. And it has to do with an announcement. Actually, I'm going to stop sharing here so you can see our guest a little bit better. So I want to introduce you to Michael Resch. So Michael Resch is somebody you might be quite familiar with. Michael's done several titles we'll briefly touch upon today. So you should know him from 1914 Twilight in the East, I believe is really what he's best known for. And he's done some follow-on titles which have been published by GMT Games. So Michael, we've invited Michael today, and the main reason we've invited Michael is, and I'll probably try to share my screen a little bit later, is I announced about 2-3 weeks ago that we signed to do with Michael his Battle for Galicia when I get this right, Michael, 1916, right? 1914. So 1914. So that's something that was released in, I believe it was 2006, if I'm not mistaken. More of a DTP, desktop published type format, not a professional. I don't think it was done as a professionally like a box game or anything like that.
No, it was not.
Right. So we're going to be, so the reason I want to have Michael on was I do want to spend a little time talking about Galicia. I am going to share my screen just for a moment because I want to introduce everybody to that title just to see, so you can see what it looks like. So I'm just going to flip over again to Board Game Geek. You can see the page here along with some graphics. Again, you can see here it was published in 2006 and has some really good comments and ratings on it as well. But now, what's nice now is we'll be able to do it. We're going to do it as a game in Paper Wars, in the Paper Wars magazine, because it has a really nice footprint. It's a single map, 5/8 inch counters. It's going to be about a counter sheet and a half when it all comes together. It's going to fit on a single map. And it's just the right footprint for Paper Wars, actually. And we did the Burning Mountain. We did the Burning Mountain a few issues ago, which was also World War I as well. So I think this is just nice that we can find an excellent World War I game. So actually, one thing I want to ask you, Michael, first, I'm going to stop sharing here so people know where to find it on Board Game Geek. Just look for Battle for Galicia 1914 under Michael Resch, and you'll find it there. So I'm going to stop sharing just for a moment. Your 1914 Twilight in the East, I think it's mentioned as coming out a year later. So was Battle for Galicia actually done first, or was 1914 completed first from your perspective?
Battle for Galicia was finished first. I was working
finished first. So have you done pretty much, have they all been World War I designs so far?
Yes.
Can you mention the other ones for the viewers?
Yeah, there's Offensive en Trance, which is the Western Front, and Serbien Musterbian, which is Serbia. All the games taking place or simulating 1914 campaigns.
Right. So let me ask you, what's driving your interest? Because since you've covered World War I topics so far as a designer, tell us a little bit about what's driving your interest in doing simulations covering the Great War era.
My grandfather fought for the Austro-Hungarian Empire, and that got me started studying the First World War. And I've been playing war games since being a kid, and somehow that just is the most interesting thing to me at the time. So
did you get a chance to actually interact with your grandfather at all? Like, I don't know the history.
I did when I was younger. He's passed away now, but yeah, he was great. I used to get to hear stories, and
okay,
that got me started.
So that's wonderful. Okay, so tell us a little bit, just to back up for a second, before we talk more about your design work. Tell us just what your favorite game is. Of course, not mentioning anything you've designed necessarily, but do you have a favorite game or two, just so we get an idea of what you like?
Long ago, my favorite game was Napoleon at Bay.
Oh, Kevin Zucker.
I'm a big Zucker fan. And
so you like that system? You like his system? Yeah,
it was interesting. I loved it. I used to play Russian campaign way too often.
Yeah.
Charles Fifth Sword.
Okay.
Days. So I don't know. I don't really have a current favorite.
So those are really tactical. Some of those are really tactical. What about Marshall Enterprises, like all that La Bataille stuff?
I had the original one, although that was over my head.
That's a great design. So now that you're in design, are there any designers that have inspired you? So now you've become a designer.
Yeah, Zucker's the guy.
Zucker's the guy, huh?
I loved Napoleon when I was a kid, and so I just played all those games, and he always has. He stuck to a topic and done it well.
So does Kevin know that you're his? You look up to him as a designer. Does he know this? Have you ever told him this?
No.
So I can like interject myself in the whole relationship, and I can say, hey, Kevin, do you know that Michael Resch is props to you. Michael really admires your Napoleon Bay game.
Right? So he's very good at it.
Yeah. Well, we actually had it. I got to say props to Kevin. Actually, at the Compass Game Expo event we held earlier, a month ago in November, our first one, we had a bunch of guys playing some of the OSG Napoleonic games from Kevin. So very popular system and series for sure. So you're in good company. That's Kevin will be very. I'm going to tell Kevin, so he'll find out. So Battle for Galicia, since we're talking about that from a Compass standpoint for a future issue of Paper Wars, was that your very first game design? I don't know the honest answer.
I was designing Twilight in the East at the same time, and I thought I'd make a small footprint, easy to play game with the same topic, because I already had all the historical information. I studied the geography, and I wanted to make something quick and easy that people could learn the basics of the campaign.
When would you say you started design? Because it was this was released 2006 and then 2007. Yeah. Did you start a few years earlier?
Yeah, I started. The whole project, the Twilight East project, was a long project, and this was just I had a break and quickly designed Battle for Galicia.
So how did the seed see? I've never tried designing anything, so that's why I was like asking this question. So what planted the seed inside your brain that says, you know what, instead of like testing for a game, play testing or developing or proofing or you name it, what made you decide, I want to actually design something? How did that happen to you, if you can remember?
I started as developer and play tester, and then just accumulated so much historical information for gaming that especially for the First World War on the East Front, studied it and just tried to be the best play tester I could be and developer, and I had all this information. I thought I'd use it. Had some ideas, about how to simulate the campaign, and I really wanted to. It's what drove me was to make something that was semi-historical at a small scale. It's not easy to do, but I didn't want to make it too easy. It had to be something that actually gave you kind of the historical action.
So tell us what it's like. What's it like being back in the day, being a first-time designer? How challenging was that? Like, do you remember anything about your design that was the hardest part? Like looking back on Twilight, the hardest part.
The best part about starting a design is that you don't know. So everything works really well. I'm finding it much harder to design now.
Oh yeah, really?
Yeah, because maybe I'm more critical myself, or I don't know.
There's more pressure on you now because your titles are popular, so you have
somehow
to
it just worked out at the
you have
beginning.
to up your game each time, right?
It seemed to work. So the Battle for Galicia is actually really fun. The situation's perfect. And
well, tell us about the situation. What was tell us about, for me, I'm not familiar. I haven't played the game, sorry, but I'm not familiar with the history for Battle for Galicia. So could you give us a little primer on what it's about? It
takes place in what is Ukraine today, in Poland, Ukraine, Lemberg being the main city in the middle of the area that's being fought over. The best part about the situation is that both sides are on the offensive in one sector and on the defensive in the other.
Oh, perfect.
So yes, and the Austrians give a good effort, but the Russians have more troops in the end. But possibly they can destroy one half of the Russian forces before they can, and then turn on the other. But it's a difficult situation, and historically the Austrians were probably doomed to fail. But that situation is what attracted me. That both sides could attack at the beginning of the game and defend, and
it's a pretty straightforward game. Like if I compare Galicia for what I know about it to 1914, I think, for example, it's a very streamlined combat system.
Yeah, it's
fair to say, and I think just in general, the footprint, the overall scope and scale, the footprint of the rules, the system, it's not nearly as complex, right?
No, it's pretty easy. It's 8 pages, I believe, or 10 pages.
8 pages of rules, so which is another good fit for Paper Wars, actually. That's a game people can dive into quickly, which I think is going to be great for them. Can you recall anything about Galicia, the design? Was there a particular tough nut to crack about the actual design where you have to make
the most difficult thing was the play balance. So it's hard to explain without reading the rules or explaining the rules. But the balance, so that the Austrians don't just push the Russians right off the map, or the other way around, that the Russians just crush the Austrians. There's got to be a balance, and finding that balance was the tricky part.
Great. I've got a question that one of our viewers want me to ask you. So Jeff Miller's online, and he has a question for you. Did you need to be able to read Russian to research Thunder in the East? Twilight in the East. Did you need to read any Russian?
Unfortunately, I don't read Russian. I did hire a person to translate some for me when I found a great book about artillery. But I'm lucky I speak German or read German very well.
Yeah.
And then not a lot of Russian, some Russian materials is translated. So, I'm still looking for Russian speakers. Anybody that volunteer.
There you go. Okay, we'll make a call for. Yeah, no problem. We'll make a call. We'll be worldwide in reach, as they say. Actually, one of our artists that we use lives in Russia. So there you go.
But that would be the weakness in my research, is that there must be a huge amount of material in Russian that I can't get to. So the detail about the Russian army is a little lower than the detail for the Austrian.
All right, maybe I'll find a few people in the vast network out there. So as far as, can you tell us a little bit about when you did release Galicia back in 2006 as a desktop published game? Can you recall getting any type of feedback about the game, how it was received?
All positive.
All positive?
Positive. Yeah, it's a fun game. It's good balance. It goes quickly. I think it's only 12 game turns long or something like that. So it goes pretty quick. It's a little bit unique in the sense that your units can lose strength and then can rebuild it by resting.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to play it that way. So the system was a little bit unique, and in general it was all very positive. And I think the best part for me was, again, it can show a player a historical perspective how that campaign went. Not on a detailed perspective, but on a overview. You don't get a distorted situation. Some games, we just make games. They're not necessarily historical. I tried to to make this one so that give you a historical background.
So when we talked about your game for Paper Wars, I knew already that it was very favorable the way it was received, actually. So this isn't like, for example, a type of project where, oh, good, I'm glad we can do it as a second chance for the designer because all these things were done wrong. Something went wrong with production or something was missed. Major errata was here or there. You didn't have any drama like that with your game. So to be honest, this could almost be a straight reprint, but I'm going to ask you an honest question. I don't know the answer. I haven't asked you this question. Is there anything you need to even consider changing as this game goes, into the magazine Paper Wars, or is it can just push forward? Obviously we'll update the rules or whatever. That's fine.
I've sent the rules off to people to edit just to find typos, and maybe we can restructure some sentences. And in general, the order of battle's all the same. The map's not changed.
Gotcha. Oh, that's actually how I expected you were going to answer it, because 8 pages of rules, the game was well received. It's great to get it professionally, get die cut counters and all that stuff behind it, and it's going to do well. So yeah, it's not like a game where we've got to do something different at all. So that's wonderful.
Yeah.
And then let me see here. I want to close up. There was another question or two coming in here, but actually this is related to the question I'm going to ask here. So I'll go to Jeff Miller here. So he wants to tap into your future. So we're going to talk about your future. We're going to talk about your future a little bit, right? And by the way, just so everybody knows, we're not committing Michael, even though we've got him on video, and this will be on YouTube and it's documented for life, right? After we're long and buried. This will not represent a formal commitment on Michael's part. Anything he says he's doing does not necessarily mean it's a formal commitment in writing, right, Michael? Can I say that?
That's right. I want to make few commitments.
Give you a safety net. So Jeff is asking, what is your next project? And he's saying, is it maybe 1915 in the East?
Yeah, I have turned east. So I'm looking at the whole Eastern Front. I'm going to try to find small battles. The one I'm playing around with a lot, goofing around with, is Lodz, because in general, it's something like 6 German corps, very small group against maybe 12 Russian corps. So it's a small battle in general. There's several battles, in the East. I've looked at Gorlice Tarnow. That would be something to try to do.
Yeah.
Problem is, some of these situations aren't necessarily great games. Like the battle for Galicia has got both sides having a chance to attack and defend.
Right.
Gorlice Tarnow is a well-prepared, German offensive that the Russians really had no chance to hold up. So the game might be more of a historical lesson, let's say, for us gamers and designers, than actually a game that we'd want to play over and over.
Jeff's also asking about, let me get this right, Lake Baloch or Balak, 1916. Does that ring a bell? Did I pronounce that right?
That's farther. Yeah. I have to do. I haven't looked into 1916 yet. Obviously, Brusilov is the well-known one, but I haven't looked into.
Have you had a chance to study the Black and Yellow Offensive, fall 1950?
Yeah, I have a good friend who's my collaborator, Rion van Mitterrand. You've met him.
Yeah. Met him. Yes.
Lives in Holland.
Yeah.
He loves just doing historical simulation. It's not so much the game that's important, and although he loves gaming, so we've set a goal to kind of try to model all of those things if we can, a little bit. But we'll see which ones are good games that could actually be published.
All right. So speaking of your future, one thing I've noticed about you is you have a certain cadence to you as far as getting games out the door based on your design, based on your available bandwidth and now we're talking your real life. So this is your life, Michael Resch. Just kidding. We're gonna have all your family members stepping in now. Just kidding. So yeah, no, seriously though. So I think you're averaging maybe a cadence of a new design every 3 to 4 years, maybe, if we stretch it out from 2006 to 2018, 19 today. So is there going to be a different pace? Are you going to be doing? Would you say you're going to average? Let's not count Battle for Galicia, because that's more of a reprint. To be fair. But for new design work, are you going to be averaging, you think, 1 every 3 years, or will it be faster, or any idea?
If it goes well, I can create a system, and I've been messing with this. It's not easy to do. That I could use for 3 or 4 small battles in the East. if I can do that, then I could produce several games in a few years. But until I get that system that I'm satisfied with, that
Right.
I find fun and that just gives a historical
Right.
flavor, I'd like the accuracy to be pretty strong. I don't.
Well, like I said, we're not committing you to anything. I'm just observing that I think you have a certain cadence of if you're getting you're getting some great games out, which seems to be averaging about 2.5, 3 years per.
Yeah, I made some big games, so hopefully I'm going to make some small ones and I can produce them more quickly.
So speaking of small games, what is that behind your left shoulder on the table set up?
That's my Lud's playtest kit that I've been messing with whenever I have free time.
So we can ship this next week.
I could, probably.
Maybe not.
We could get a Vassal module out there. No, not that.
Let's get that. Let's get the cadence going faster now. Drum roll. Let's ship it. Okay, I'm joking. So that's exciting news. So that's a new design on your table behind you.
Yeah. There,
lots. Very, very good. Well, wonderful. Well, listen, I'm not going to overwhelm you with questions. I just want to say on behalf of Compass, first, thanks for spending some time with us this evening so we can get to know you a little bit better. We're all fans, obviously, of your designs, and we hope to see you doing more of them. We're particularly happy that, we can give Battle for Galicia a little more attention and love. I think it deserves it. It's a great little gem of a game, so we'll get it out in a future issue of Paper Wars in the future, so that's exciting. And,
Thank you.
And wish you all the best. And it was a real pleasure to have you. Hopefully we can have you when we get closer to maybe publishing or maybe any other activities going on. We'll definitely check in with you again. We'll root you on, see whatever you've got coming down the pike, and we'll catch you online as well, hopefully.
Great. Thank you, John.
Thanks Mike. Man. Thank you.
Okay.
And just want to thank everybody online again. Just as a reminder, we're going to be closing out December. I'll be doing a year in review session. Which will basically go through a year in review, what's transpired at Compass Games. It's been a pretty whirlwind tour. I've had my seatbelt fastened the whole year. We've had quite a few game releases, so we'll take a look at all the game releases. We'll talk about some of the things that happen online, social media, bigger plans, things we've learned from, things we learned about, lessons learned. So again, I'm really eager to have a nice close to the year. I hope everybody has a wonderful getting into the holiday season. I hope everybody has a wonderful holiday season coming up, but we will meet again. I don't know yet if I'm going to be doing the next session in a week. I might want to actually do an operational pause here and have a little bit more time to get the year in review session ready to make sure I can cover all the material that we're going to want to cover. And it's going to take a while for me to collect all my thoughts and my notes for you to put a good session together. So if it's not next week, we'll have our last session of the year in 2 weeks. And I'll be sure to announce and update you all as far as how that goes. So I want to thank you again. Again, our last release went out today, Tinian. Tinian was our last release, The Forgotten Battle for 2018. Hope you're picking it up. We did a quick update, showed you the box cover art for Combat from Ross Martell. Did a quick update on Zeppelin Raider, showed you some things I didn't get a chance to show you last week, and made some announcements about the Weimar game, Fight for Democracy, and then Panzerkrieg Designer Signature Edition that we have an intent to publish moving forward. And it was great to finish tonight, of course, with our special guest, Michael Resch, and all the great World War I games he's done. And we're definitely looking forward to doing Battle for Galicia 1914 in a future issue of Paper Wars. So with that, I want to wish everybody well, and I'll be seeing you again to close out and look at the year in review for 2018. Thanks, everybody.